Hello! So we just talked about volume and now we're talking about a new concept. This new concept has something to do with volume and they do have a relationship, so let's talk about that. So we had already said that volume is looking at a container or an object and seeing how much space it takes up. Now mass is something different pertaining to those objects. Now every single thing in the world, including you, is made of matter. Every single thing is made of matter. And so mass is looking at an object and seeing what it is made of. The way that the matter is arranged, that's what determines the mass. We're going to be talking about two different forms of measurement for mass. And those two measurements for mass are gram and kilogram. If we're talking about an object and we say that the mass of the object is 1 gram, what we're talking about is what the object is made of, okay? The way that the matter is formed together, it is 1 gram of matter, okay? And to paint a picture in your head of what 1 gram might look like or what it might feel like, a regular thumbtack is 1 gram. Think about how light a thumbtack is. When we're talking about the mass of this thumbtack, it would be 1 gram. Now another object that has a mass of 1 gram is a paperclip. Now we're going to be talking about 1 kilogram. Now, just like the relationship that we saw in the volume video with looking at 1,000 milliliters to 1 liter, 1,000 grams actually equals 1 kilogram. Okay, so it uses the same system of 1,000 to 1, 1,000 to 1. The mass of this bag of sugar is really close to 1 kilogram. Okay, so this would equal 1,000 grams. Another picture is this bag of beans. I've measured it out and I'll show you how we use this tool right here to measure. But this is also 1 kilogram. So this is a scale. And this scale has measurements of kilograms and grams. This is also a tool that we use to measure mass. So we're going to do an activity with this balance, okay? And you at home, you can get a piece of paper and show your work, and this will actually be the work that you take a picture of and email to your teachers, okay? So here's how it's going to happen. Stephen is going to be in one of the buckets of the balance, and in the other bucket, we are going to add beans until both of the buckets are even again. Now, as we start, you see how it's teetering, but it will be balanced before we start, and we're trying to get that balance back, okay? So once both sides are even, that means that what is in here is equal to what is in here as far as mass goes, okay? We're going to find the mass of Stephen and we're going to use these buckets to help us. Now, Stephen's going to be in one bucket, and in the other bucket we're going to add beans until the balance is back. Once we have the balance back, we're going to take the bucket, put it on the scale. It starts at 0 kilograms and it goes to 1 kilogram to 2 kilograms. And along the way, we will see the grams. So there are spots of 200 grams, 400 grams, 600 grams, 800 grams, 1,000 grams, okay? And it goes all the way up. Before we get started, I have to measure the mass of this bucket. Before we put any beans in, we have to know what the mass of this bucket is so it doesn't ruin our measurement of Stephen over here, okay? So this equals 80 grams. So write down 80 grams somewhere. So we're going to take that away after we find the measurement of the beans. So now Stephen is in one side. Do you see what happened to our balance? Stephen weighs more than an empty bucket. So now we're going to see how many beans equal the mass of Stephen. Are you ready? So we have found balance between the beans and Stephen. So now I'm going to take this bucket that's filled with our beans, and if we agree that this amount of beans is the same mass as Stephen, if I weigh these beans, I will also know the mass of Stephen. You see how that works? If I find a balance, I can just bring them over. Now my measurement says 130 grams, okay? It's on the line of 130 grams. Now, I want you to write down 130 grams. And this is the time we're going to take away the mass of the bucket. 130 minus 80. And I want you to write down what 130 minus 80 equals. 130 minus 80 is 50 grams. Stephen weighs 50 grams. Now, I'm going to give you another problem, and you are going to solve it just like we just did. You're going to write down the mass of the bucket, and I'm going to find another object that you can find the mass of. Hello. This is going to be our second object. It is a teeny tiny little banana. Let's weigh our bucket. It's going to be the same as before, but this is a good process to show you again. The mass of this bucket has to be taken away from the mass of the beans that I find, or else we're going to say the object has a higher mass than it really does. So, all right, we have 80 grams. So write down 80 grams. Here comes the banana. Banana's in the bucket, and obviously the banana has more mass than an empty bucket. So now we have found the balance. Now this bucket is going onto our scale, and remember from before we put down 80 grams for the mass of the bucket. Now we're going to see how many grams this equals. This equals 190 grams. Write down 190 grams. So that is the mass of the bucket and the beans, but we have to subtract the bucket, right? So let's take out the bucket. So 190 minus 80. 190 minus 80, write it down. 190 minus 80 is 110. So the beans equal 110 grams, and that also means that since these are balanced, the banana's mass is 110 grams. All right, so this one, you're going to be all on your own. You're going to find the mass of one more object and make sure that you write down your math and label the pieces. So if you found 80 grams to be the bucket, say bucket equals 80 grams. Then show the math, and then you can say the mass of the object, whatever it is that we decide, equals, and tell us grams. When you're labeling your answers, use a lowercase g for grams. This is a roll of painter's tape. This will be the object that you are going to find the mass of, okay? So, painter's tape. This is how you spell it. Write it down on your paper. So let's start by weighing our bucket. It's going to be the same as before, but remember, we have to find it. 80 grams. So, right, bucket equals 80 grams. Okay, the painter's tape is going onto one side. Okay, we have found the balance again. So I'm going to put this bucket of beans onto our scale. Okay, oh my gosh, you won't believe this. The bucket with the beans is 200 grams. Straight up, 200 grams. So write down 200. We're going to subtract the mass of the bucket from the mass of the bucket and the beans. So that way we just have the mass of beans. 200 minus 80. And that is your math problem that you are going to send to your teachers. So what I expect is you're labeling each piece. So say bucket equals 80 grams, show your math, 200 minus 80, then label your answer. So tell me and tell your teacher what the object is, and tell your teacher what the object's mass is. Take a picture of your work and email it to your teacher. We'll see you next time, guys. Bye!